This is the part of the room that you never actually see, but it's also the part of the room where I do most of the filming for the Sanctus Forum. And at the end of 2024, I counted, I have done 37 videos so far. This will be the 38th and probably the last for 2024. I usually take a break over Christmas and New Year's, and so it is a good chance for you to go back and look at some of the old videos which you perhaps missed. And I also forget all that I have done over this year, and there have been a number of different topics and important moments on the channel this year, some such that it makes me very thankful and encouraged by what's happening in this digital space. So I think here in this last video, 10 highlights, let's say, of 2024 on the Sanctus Forum. Hey everybody, welcome to the Sanctus Forum. I am Michael Stewart Robb, better known as Mike, and I am getting over a cold over the weekend that I picked up, and you can probably still hear it in my voice. I want to talk about 10 highlights from this year, but if you are interested in what we're doing, books and everyday spirituality, Dallas Willard stuff, theology, spiritual formation, then you should be subscribed to the channel. You should probably also, even better, be subscribed to our almost monthly newsletter, though they've been a little bit more frequent in the fall, which I hope is a good thing. Yeah, there's lots of people I know watch the videos, but aren't connected with us, and that does help us. And it helps other people then indirectly. Yeah, so the first highlight that I wanted to share with you, and for me this was a really big event, was the release of our trailer for our documentary Alone Together. This was released, I think, in February, and it was only 2 minutes long, but it represented something really, really big in my life and in the life of the Institute to show this much of what we do behind the scenes with European ministers. And therefore, I'm glad that a lot of people watched it, and I just want that to go out as widely as possible to share what God can do with Europeans in our day and age.
Just amazing.
In the name of the Lord Jesus.
You can't smell this. You gotta be here to smell it.
When things are smaller, it causes you to reflect on, are we wasting our time, wasting our money? With Sanctus, we don't have a lot of time, we don't have a lot of money, so there's a constant existential question of, is this useful to people? Or should we just be doing something else?
The second big moment in 2024 was a conversation that I had with my friend, colleague, Gary Moon. I had no idea how much of a joy it would be to see Gary and be in the same room with him and to film a short conversation with him about Dallas Willard and about the work that we've both done on Dallas Willard. And I think that what the energy that happens in a room when two people are together, certainly if they have a history with each other, is so much different than what happens when I'm just sitting here by myself talking with you, and you're probably also by yourself. But for that reason, I really appreciated that conversation with Gary.
Do you think there'll be young people in 2080 reading Dallas Willard?
That is a wonderful question, actually. I'm hoping your book helps with that. And to be honest with you, the most honest answer is, I don't know. I don't think that's a slam dunk answer that I want to say, well, of course they will.
It was a carryover from 2023 when I started to do some videos on reading, and I did one very early on in January about reading versus getting done. And it did very well, and I think it just struck a nerve with people. And the main insight is that I never have seen people who are burnt out or burdened with too much to do who are also readers. And that was just a video in which I riffed a little bit on that idea, and we went on and did a few other reading videos in the year, and I really like that. I really like sharing what I know about this very important human skill that we have. This is somewhat of a lifestyle video, somewhat of a books video. It's just something that I've been thinking about lately, the connection between having a reading life and having a non-busy, non-hurried life. Do these things coincide? And it seems that they do. I have also shared in 2024 a bit more about my own lifestyle choices to not carry with me a smartphone. We do have smartphones in the household, one to speak of. And I do have an iPad, so I'm not really completely out of that app world. I do use computers. I think there's something like 3 or 4 computers in this room alone. So I'm not like a neo-Luddite or whatever. But for me, not using a phone is way better than using one. And I believe that's probably going to be the case for more people out there than just me. The first thing that I have learned is that I have been able to stay focused, way more focused. And that in 2 areas. I have been able to stay on tasks, and similarly, I've been able to stay focused on people that I'm meeting with, and whether that is I'm meeting them on Zoom or I'm meeting them personally, there is no phone, there are no notifications, no to-do list between me and that other person. I'm there. In June, mid-June, I did a video called A Personal Note on Sanctus, and this was a behind-the-scenes look at how I felt and thought in the moment. I don't usually do that sort of thing for everybody on YouTube. If you are on the newsletter, you'll see a lot more of that kind of thing, the behind-the-scenes look, what I'm actually going through, what other people are going through. But I think it was a really important moment for the channel. A lot of you responded to that and responded with compassion and encouragement, because I talked about how it was rather difficult what we were doing here in Europe. And I'm glad that I was able to have that kind of moment and make it public. I do want to say I had just gone running before I filmed that video. It was within 10 minutes of me getting back, so a little bit of the look of my face and my hair in that has to do with the fact that I'm exhausted from running a 5K before I actually started filming the video. But all the rest of it, very raw and honest. If I look back at the things that I have tried to do to make Sanctus a European Institute for Theology and Spiritual Formation, to live out that elevator speech that I tell people about what we are, it's been rather difficult, and I have been wrestling with God about why He, it seems, doesn't show up for work when I do. By my count, we did 10 videos in the Conspiracy Commentaries series, and you all know that's been an ongoing feature of this channel, talking about the divine conspiracy, and I think it will continue. I think it's still a sharp knife, so I should keep using it. But of those 10 that I did this year, the 4 that I did on life after death, what happens after death, are particularly special for me, and I think I learned a lot about Dallas Willard as well as the subject matter by doing those videos. And there's one in particular in which I share some of a near-death experience from somebody in Missouri, and it's connected with Dallas Willard's family, and I was really glad that I was able to find that episode and share it with you all. Today's section is about death, or the lack thereof, a section called Moving Out of Our Tent or Temporary House. Once when somebody died, I sent them a card. Well, I didn't send them when they died. That doesn't make any sense. Before they died, I sent them a card that was a "In Your New Home" card.
And I wasn't really trying to be funny, I was trying to be theological, and I had something like this in mind.
In the fall, we did a series of videos on ministry, serving others. You can't get very far in Jesus' spirituality without finding an invitation to love and serve others. We did all of those videos in connection with the release of our course retreat Among Wolves, which you can find out about on our website, sanctus.institute/Among Wolves. Very excited about that course, the first time we did something like that. But the videos have their own kind of special character as well. And I think the story hasn't yet been completely told about those videos. In general, fewer people watched them, but that may be because it was somewhat new for me to be talking more about what I do rather than just doing it. At any rate, it's a very important moment for our channel, and here's a clip from that. A lot of churches that you might walk into, they might be very excited if you were a volunteer. Many people do just get so exhausted by doing some of this stuff in the church. And I think that is ironic, because Jesus's way of service is certainly going to encounter some opposition in that. But if you see, one of the provisions that Jesus made for his first group of volunteers that he sent out in the Gospels is that they would go out and have times of rest. He sent them out with teaching about Sabbath, and he sent them out in a sabbatical way. I'm using that as an adjective, not as a noun. In the spring, connected with Lent, I did a series on Benedict's rule, in which it wasn't really systematic in any way. I mainly just grabbed some ideas out of the rule and riffed on them a little bit. And I think that there are certain aspects of what Benedict was doing which are crucial for what we're doing today still, and our lifestyle and all of that. But one of the points that I thought was really good was seeing some of the difference between Protestant ministry and the sort of ministry that Benedict did. And there's one video in particular on ministry that I thought was something that I needed to hear again, and I hope that it's helpful for you as well. I was sharing this with a group of people in Dublin who were very interested in spiritual growth there as a church. And I was saying that the Benedictine model was to sort of live by example first, and to sort of show people through the way that you lived how they could grow spiritually. And then second, when those people were interested, to talk and speak about it. And somebody made this really fascinating comment. They said, well, we in our churches, Protestant churches, we do the opposite, really. We speak first. We preach, we teach, we tell people this is what you ought to do. And then maybe we will back it up with some real life examples. In September, I filmed some videos on Jonathan Haidt's book, The Anxious Generation. And the first of those was titled The Ruthless Elimination of Ease. And wasn't a major theme of Haidt's book, but I think is an important theme for our culture, because in spiritual formation, in growing up, it is very important that we don't take things super easy on ourselves, that we give ourselves challenges and risks and all of that. Otherwise, we aren't going to progress. We aren't going to develop that resilience that we need. I think that there's something to this idea of anti-fragile for at least Christian spiritual formation. This idea that Christians aren't made by being protected and by kind of surrounding themselves in a way in which they don't have any difficulty, any risk, any stress. That's actually going to hurt us in the long run, because, well, the life that we are a part of now involves those things. And if you think of spiritual formation as kind of protecting yourself from that, at some point you're going to hit against something that really might, as those trees in the biosphere, knock you over. I realize I'm not really smiling a whole lot in this video. I do feel the illness, and I think my voice has deteriorated over the course of filming this here. But the 10th last video moment that I wanted to mention was actually the very first video that I did in 2024 on my reading life, the best books for me of 2023. And I think that is important to me because it really symbolizes a lot of what I want to be doing in my life, to be reading on one hand, but then sharing with other people about what I am learning and reading. And I think it really symbolizes what this channel is, and therefore I'm pretty sure I'm going to do it again, that we'll have next year a video on best books of 2024 for me. It's not really a top 10 books or the best that were published or anything like that. It's just a behind the scenes look of what I do when I don't have the camera on and I read books and I think about them, and therefore I want to share that with you. So without further ado, the first best book of 2023. And by the way, I read more books than these. I don't say that to brag, just I say that because, you know, that's just the way that it is. You read some and they aren't the best. George Mueller of Bristol. This is a biography by A.T. Pearson about George Mueller, a guy that started a bunch of orphanages as well as some missionary organizations and churches and a lot of things, all through prayer and praying for things. Is a guy that I want to look up to. I do look up to. I want to be like. Maybe if in my life I can be 25% the sort of prayer and patient waiter on God that George Mueller was, I will have done something with my life. Well, thank you all for all of your prayers. If you have prayed at any time for the work that we do, you've prayed for the channel, you prayed for the people that are connected with us in any way at all, thank you. Some of you give. That is very helpful. We are dependent on those kinds of things to do the work that we do here in Europe. And thank you just for being here, and any kind of interaction that you're doing with the videos, liking, writing comments, sending us emails, all that kind of thing. It does help me, encourages me a lot, and it does indirectly then have an effect on other people. So thank you for doing all that. And I look forward to what God has for us next year. I wish you all a blessed Advent and a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, assuming that this is the last video that I'm doing this year. Going to get a haircut tomorrow, by the way.